Okay. All right, why don't we start? John. .org.
Yeah, you just thought you were going to have this chair.
I was encroaching, yes.
Of course, I guess I've been here earlier. I got one of the pictures, right?
Yes, you have a chair.
Good. All right. Welcome. This is the New Paltz Planning Board meeting of the Village of New Paltz. We're meeting at an irregular time because of the holidays this month. So this is the September 21st meeting. And my name is Michael Zieler, and I want to just start by thanking this planning board and the village board for entrusting me with the chairmanship of the planning board. So I just want to go through the agenda real quick because we're going to move a few things around. We're starting public comment tonight. We have two applications, a determination of completeness and a pre-application discussion. One of the people who's coming to talk about the first application, PB 1513, won't be here till 7:30, so we'll switch those two. We have minutes. We want to look at some zone changes to section 212.23, and Ryan also has asked us to take a look at 4 memos to release escrow funds for applications that are completed. So we'll do all those as other business.
Do you have memos on those to review?
We do. Did you get those?
I did not.
Here, I'll give you those in the meantime. Sure. Okay, so anybody here who would like to speak at public comment? All right.
Do we leave it open for 15 minutes anyway, or?
No, sir. It's not a public
Did you
hearing.
watch it live?
Nope. Okay, then, Wayne, do you want to come up and we'll look at 1614? Can I pull a chair back? Oh, please, pull a chair up.
I assume you've reviewed my intent, and it's been modified a bit since I presented it, and that is because the building inspector found that he was in error in stopping me from using the building for student housing.
Okay.
Because the law permits that I can do that as we originally had thought, and now I have the ability to do that. So what I'm essentially asking for is I'd like to increase the parking on the property at 10 South Chestnut Street by taking the level alongside of the hairstylist right now and bringing that to a parking level, same as the driveway. And then to the rear of that, I would like to put in an herb garden for the restaurant, which is Bacchus. Number 2 would be taking the earth away from the current building that's there, the hairstylist, because the way it was built improperly. There's a shale wall that goes right down the back of that building. The water comes out of it, it seeps out, it goes into the building. There's no way of mitigating the problems of that without taking the material away from the building. So I want to be able to take a 4-foot walk area away and get down below the foundation and solving the problem finally. And that's been a problem for the last 40 or 50 years in that building, since when the doctor had located there many years ago. And I'd like the ability to either which I know I have the right, by the zoning to have either a commercial area on the first floor of the structure, the house, and perhaps student housing on the top, or to have simply student housing on both, which I know I'm allowed to do. But I'd like to be able to change that if I get a tenant without it being a prolonged process. So I'd like to get an approval beforehand. I have a psychiatrist group that is looking at the place right now. They don't know whether they're going to do it or not. But if they decide that they want to do it, time would be of the essence. And for me to look for planning for several months down the road, I wouldn't be able to maintain, that ability to rent that group, or even other people who are looking. They're looking for a definitive response. Demolishing the building is off the table at this point since I have the ability to use it. And that's basically it. You see the plans for the parking. The parking is laid out as prescribed by the law for the amount of space between parking places, the size of the parking places, and where it's positioned on the property, so everything would be legal. All I really have to do at this point, I would imagine, is have an engineered drawing. And one of the other issues is that I would be parking across the lot line between Bacchus and 8 and 10 South Chestnut Street.
Right.
And I'm looking for the right to park over that invisible line.
Right.
And I didn't mention the kiosks also.
Right, yeah.
Those are the kiosks in front that I already have someone that's willing to rent it, for doing coffee and for doing barbecue, meals for breakfast or for lunch and dinner.
Mhm. So at this point then, based on your narrative, we're not even considering the third option, so we're not.
No, we would be crossing off number 3 and 6 because the pipe installation has already been done. Originally, the building inspector said I could not have gas going into my property without the planning board decision, but it turns out that utilities do not need a planning board decision to go across.
Right, yeah, I saw they were trenching.
So of course I took that off as well.
Okay,
And you're aware of what happened with the trees, I'm sure.
yes.
And that,
Why don't you tell everybody, though?
well, what essentially occurred was I went to the building inspector's office before Brian became the new inspector, and I asked what requirements there were, and I was told that I could not cut down a tree that was over 7 inches in girth, 46 inches above the ground level, if it was within 20 feet of the street.
Mhm.
And I did do that exactly, but I asked after I was told that, I said, can I cut down rotten trees?
Mhm.
And Holly said, they do not have a problem with you cutting down rotten trees.
Right.
And the trees that I cut down were indeed rotten and dangerous.
Mhm.
And limbs would fall on the street and the sidewalk, and it was constantly happening. Every several months, we would have to clean up a huge limb.
Mhm.
And the front of the property, I had to go over a tree to do it. There was no way of getting that tree down without cutting that tree down to go over it because it overhung the power lines. It was 65 feet tall.
Mhm.
And that tree alone was $6,400 to take down. It was a dangerous tree to take down, and the other tree was obviously damaged by doing that. But, the tree commission is pleased that they're going to get that tree, which is a hybrid tree, I understand,
Mhm.
and we're moving it to a spot on the garden area where they've dug a hole and they're going to transplant it there.
Okay,
And they're happy with the deal that we've made where we're going to put trees, where you see them positioned in the drawings.
okay, yeah, I had a chance to talk to somebody from the Shade Tree Commission, so they just want to stay abreast of what's going on here, so when you do an actual site plan, then we'll have them take a look at it and just make sure that they're satisfied, so.
Well, they've seen the site plan already and they were happy with the tree placement.
Okay,
It's just whatever they're asking.
but I mean,
for
you're going to do a plan that's actually
Engineered.
done by some engineer or an architect.
If you
or
require
something.
that.
We do.
Yes.
Yeah. So on that one, it should identify not only where the trees are, but what kind of trees and the approximate size of the tree that's going to go in.
Well, that would be up to them, and the size they're also determining.
Yeah, right, so I'm saying,
Well,
that,
but it would,
so
needs to show up on a landscape.
so it'll show up on the plan, and
Sure.
then if you work that out ahead of time with them, that's great, and those details can just go on the plan. So, that's fine. So then, we are basically working from this,
Yes.
from this sketch, okay. And so the idea is that you'd be putting, I guess it's 9 spaces along the side of the pool hall,
Correct.
and then you'd be putting 3 spaces back
4
here,
with handicap.
3 conventional, 1 handicapped, and then 1 space here.
Yes, and then parallel parking right at the 25-foot
Oh,
mark.
and this is another space.
And then the
Thank you.
kiosk, and this area would be for bikes.
Right, and this is for bikes, okay. So, why don't we just open this up, and if there are questions or comments? You want to start, Rich?
I mean, we're really only looking at concept here because we don't have an engineer's map, so it's all got to fit. And I have some question about the drainage. When you blacktop this whole thing, how are you going to handle the drainage?
Well,
But the engineer's map will show us that.
I talked to the building inspector already. He said it's really not changing anything. That's all stone. That whole area is
Oh,
stone.
okay.
Oh, yeah. It's all shale. And just to go in the back, I have to take the shale out. And because I have to do that, there's going to be a lot of jackhammering. We're going to do it on Saturday and Sunday and holidays. We're not going to do it to interfere with the school. You know, so that's already been determined. We're looking to have as little impact as possible. But that whole area is shale. There is no drainage on any of it.
Any other outside lighting that you're thinking about adding to this at all? Or
No.
how about signage for,
The sign for, we're actually, she's going to apply for a new sign permit, and I was talking to her about it for the beauty salon. She's going to
Okay.
change the name of it. And we're talking about putting a street sign which overhangs the sidewalk, which will be smaller, and then putting a sign up on our building on the top that would be illuminated, which would be smaller. It actually would have less of an imprint than it does right now. And it would be more effective as well.
well, I'm glad to know you're going to save the building, or like the building.
I do too.
It's a good looking
It doesn't
building.
matter if I couldn't
I
use
grew up
it.
across the street from it.
No, did you? Well, you've been here for a long time. It was simply a matter of efficiency. If I couldn't use it, the parking places were valuable.
I just wish you would take the term student housing out of your vocabulary. We have no such thing in our zoning called student housing.
Well, you know, that had a rental of 11 rooms. I cut it down. I want to put another kitchen on the second floor. So 4 rooms or 5 rooms in one and 4 in the other would have their own kitchens. I'm trying to make it more civil than it was.
So you're going to make two apartments out of it?
Well, 2 kitchens. Now it would be one apartment where the rooms upstairs would have 1 kitchen, the rooms downstairs would have 1 kitchen, and it would be 2 apartments, yes. But the key is if I rent the downstairs, the kitchen is there. It already goes into the operation. I don't have to take that kitchen out and then worry about one. So I'd rather sacrifice a rental room and have a kitchen and a living room. You know, just to make it more civil as a rental area.
Anything else?
Not from what I'm seeing.
Yeah, no, of course, no, I realize we'll need a full site plan, but just anything.
I mean, as far as, you know, the easements are going to be necessary to cross property lines.
Now, what does that mean?
Well, in order to have those, the parking places be in perpetuity, you need some sort of easement for each to cross.
Okay.
I'll go to the legal terms, is that correct? That's true. Yeah.
Right, or
So we're talking about simple language in a deed. Since I own both properties,
Something that.
Yeah.
You're not going to combine both properties into one big one though, right? You're gonna make this-
eventually it probably will be.
well, so that's an option. You can do a lot. You can,
I can't do it, but I can't do it because I have different mortgages.
Right.
Right.
So it's different banks and one bank is not going to release to another.
Yeah.
So
If you need an agreement, you can record So, simple agreement about the right to use those spaces, that you have the right to use them, you don't own it, but you have the right to use those spaces, signed, notarized, so you can record it
Okay,
as like a deed.
not a problem then.
Yeah, it's just-
Okay.
Right.
And this will just be an exit onto North Chestnut, and this will be the entrance?
And that's a really positive thing as well, because if you look at coming into my spot, just going up my driveway that was there before, if I'm making a left into there and I have to stop, I hold all the traffic up through the light.
Right.
And unfortunately, that's happened a lot. You give me another 75 to 100 feet, the cars can accumulate and actually go around you at that point, because it's by Vicky's, entranceway, and they could just pull around. So it really creates much better flow coming out, and people coming out onto South Chestnut, they can wait. It's not going to obstruct the traffic.
Good. Yeah, no, that's, so is this require a new curb cut, or there already is a cut here, right? One in us?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
There's
the
actually
front
two curb cuts. There was a curb cut that came up the side of the pool hall,
Right.
and the curb cut that came up the side of the little building.
Right,
Yeah.
and the one coming up by the pool hall will be
Will be
defunct.
gone.
And another really
That's right.
positive
I'm just
thing,
throwing it that way, we're going to one curb cut here.
Right, so you can eliminate.
it'll be to the left of the trees as you're
So
facing.
you're also going to want to make sure that you have an agreement there that allows the pool hall to use that curb cut, if that curb cut is on this property.
Well,
Just what you
so
covered.
that would be the Bacchus property, yeah.
It's just Donnie Madison crossing to use.
Also, another positive thing, the truck drivers are elated at this point. They drive their tractor trailers in, back right up to my driveway, and instead of having to walk 100 feet plus, they just take it right out and bring it in. And we're not tying up the street by the school any longer. We're
Right.
not tying up South Chestnut by having trucks parked there. Even the beer deliveries now park right in that area. They take their beer out, so we've really, taken away congestion by this whole plan.
Liz?
Do you know whether or not they're going to still want to anchor that telephone pole to your old tree?
No, but they talked to me about it this morning.
I couldn't believe it. I'm down, I saw they put a new anchor into the old tree.
No, that anchor was there years
It
ago.
was there?
Yeah,
Oh.
and somehow it was taken down, but it was taken down with their knowledge because the wire was off the pole as well. So it wasn't just dangling, it wasn't taken by someone on the bottom. And what they asked me, they asked me, the new pole will be finished, completed tomorrow morning by 10:30. They asked me how quickly I could get that out because they've got to compact it, they have to drop an anchor. And it's gonna be a bridge anchor coming off. And it's gonna come off high enough and wide enough that I'm gonna be able to bring a front end loader down the front of the street to clear the sidewalks. I don't know if you noticed, but no matter what the storms are, Bacchus is always clean. There's never snow on the side, because I take the snow from there and I bring it all the way around to the back. And this year, I was using a Bobcat and plows. This year I'm bringing a 2.5 yard loader over, because I have the ability to, with that size, I can easily handle it. So we're gonna be even more efficient with our plowing.
Good. Any thoughts, questions?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions about the shale bank in the back of the salon. You said you were going to be cutting that down along with where the proposed herb garden will go?
Right, I want to bring that back to the property line. And I've already talked to Lee. Lee Reinhardt is my neighbor, of which I'm hoping to buy that property soon.
And that's how many feet? I can't read the...
It's 8.5 feet that I go back, but I'm only going to be going back behind the building 4 feet. I just need a walkway where I can get a bucket in to dig through the bottom.
And that's to make sure that the water doesn't hit up against the foundation?
It's to mitigate the
the
problem so it actually goes away from the foundation.
Uh-huh.
It'll be dug down with piping.
So-
and the
so you're
piping
gonna
will go to
have-
daylight.
A site plan that shows existing topo and then proposed topo?
If that's what you wish.
Yes.
Sure. And what we're talking, I talked to Karen today, Reinhardt, who is Lee's wife, and I'm sure you guys know her. And we talked about putting a wall up, and she's gonna figure out what she'd like to see for a wall. But it would be a 12-inch concrete wall on our land, on the top of the shale, And either it's going to have a brick facade in front of it, and the water that comes off from their property, which comes down into the back of that building, would then be funneled out to the street. Which would, again, mitigate my water problems.
And it would be funneled out onto the street via the driveway?
No, no, not at all. By the wall. It would come right down the length of the wall and go out to Innis Avenue.
Over to Innis?
Right.
And then onto Innis?
Right, onto Innis.
Which
and
would
down
then
into the
come
drain
down
system.
Innis and onto 208?
Into the drain system, yeah.
So we wouldn't want to see what drains you'd be using to collect that?
Okay. Well, right now, it's just coming down straight off the property, right down onto 32, or
208.
Yeah, 208. So it would just be taken off to the side.
And we just need a piece of paper showing that?
Sure, you got it.
As part of the site plan.
Off-site drain over here on 32?
I believe there is. And-
Yeah, there's one at the bottom of Ennis and 208, and then there's one farther down by two farther down by the Catholic Church.
Yep.
And then there's one down by the corner building as well.
Right.
Funnels down that way too,
Right.
across the street.
So, yeah, so they'll just want to make sure that the plan identifies where those drains are and what the flow is going to be so that we can make sure, just, we'll just need to see it, make sure that there's
You
capacity,
mean the direction of the flow, not the volume of the flow?
the direction of the flow.
Well, we would need to know how much they anticipate going in there also, sure.
I don't know how much is coming off this property.
Well, the engineers
It's the same
should know what their usual
Well, that's, yeah,
requirements
you don't
are.
need to know. The engineer, they'll be able, that's their job.
The 4-foot sidewalk in front of the present hair salon building, you said you wanted to get rid of it?
There is none there, I'm gonna put one in.
Oh, you're installing it?
Yes, I'm installing it so that when people walk out, they're not walking out into the driveway. They're gonna walk out onto a sidewalk.
Okay, uh-huh. And, but it looks as though the 20 feet between the building, the house and that salon building includes driving over the proposed 4-foot sidewalk?
But yeah, and it still gives me the appropriate drive area for cars.
But part of that 20 foot would be the 4-foot sidewalk?
Yes, exactly. So it gives me 16 feet for driveway. And I just need 12 and a half.
And the property line, even though you own both pieces of property, I'm assuming is coming like through these
Exactly,
spaces here?
exactly.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna be doing.
The agreement, uh-huh. And if that could be shown, and of course labeling accordingly.
What's interesting is that I always thought the point was right here, because there's another point here, and I thought I owned straight down the building, and I had no idea that I was into their driveway, or into their land all these years.
Are there, I know these are pre-existing conditions, do we have to be concerned about setbacks for the hair salon at this point? With the new site plan?
He's not adding to the building.
No, I realize, there's no
Hair salon's
changes.
in this building, isn't it?
It's already there.
Yeah, I mean, everything is already there, I just, because we're generating a new site plan, do we have to be concerned about any setback issues on this side?
I think we'd
Only
only
if it's in the
worry about
use.
setbacks for the parking,
Okay,
because that's existing, you
Yeah,
you
right.
can't.
I know there's nothing you can do, but I didn't want to
If it's
raise.
a new use, I think the setback issue comes up, but
Okay,
existing uses, no.
okay, good.
And the setback would be 10% of the length of the property, which would be 13.5 feet from new use.
Okay.
Well, even that's somewhat unclear to even us when we go through on that zoning.
Well,
We've gone through this before, but you're
Yeah.
pre-existing on that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a non.
No, no, but I'm-
Just leave it alone, leave it alone.
That's right, exactly.
Walk away.
Um,
You know, another interesting situation that happened when I came, I took that retaining wall down so I could get up in the back and work. And he stopped me and said I did not have the right to remove it. And I said, In the code, it says I can take out up to 30 yards of dirt without, any planning board approval. And then he said, but the planning board says you can't take out that without their approval. And then the law suggests that if there's a discrepancy in the code, it goes to the favor of the landowner. So I know that you have a discrepancy where you say you can't do it and the code says you can. So I didn't do anything illegal, and again, I asked.
Yeah.
And again, it was before Brian.
Discrepancy in the code, imagine.
On the, you're showing 5 foot from the property line to the rear, 3 parking spaces. What is your offset requirements?
I'm showing 5 to the right side, which is the offset requirement. And to the back, I don't know what requirement it would be, but I have 14 feet. And if it indeed is 13.5.
So the 14 is from the property line to where you intend to have the back of the
exactly.
parking
And
spaces?
and that's where I would like to have my garden.
Okay.
And the same goes for that one spot that you want to put right next to the house that's gonna be...
Yeah, that one spot, I missed the set off by a couple of feet. I mean, it could easily go there, but I would be too close to the property line to have 2 spots.
Why do you feel you need that spot there?
God, I need every spot that you could imagine. There's, what the problem is with the parking. One spot is so valuable. And, Rock and Snow, he was over to talk to me today, and he said he is going to patrol his parking lot because he needs it for his spots. And it's so important to him that, people are becoming very possessive with their spots, and one spot is a lot. I have people parking behind Bacchus, and they park one car after another down my 100 feet, so I can get 5 cars there, and they're employees, and they're off the street.
And if you have a rental on the second floor, you have to have...
There is no parking for any of the rentals. That is a stipulation. If you have a car, you don't rent.
But I believe code says that you have to have parking for your rental.
I may have to have it, but I don't want tenants with cars.
But it would still be a requirement to have...
No, it may be a requirement. I meet the requirements of parking with the amount of spaces I have, but I'm not going to consume them by having, tenants that have cars, is all I'm saying.
It's okay.
I have that right.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. No dogs, no cars.
Good luck with that.
But with the dogs,
And the kiosk, what is going to be in there?
in the kiosk itself,
Yes.
it is going to be coffee, and it is going to be, light foods.
Could we get a copy of that?
So
I
is
didn't-
production
I
gonna be
didn't
done,
have
is production gonna be done in Bach's kitchen, or is it gonna be done in the kiosk?
Now I'm putting in the Bacchus kitchen of course. And it's just gonna be a serving area. And you'll be able to, the thought is to be able to get the same quality as Starbucks, but $1 cheaper. And it'll be fast.
that. So is it going to be 9 by 21 or 9 by 18?
It'll be, and it depends where it is. 9 by 18 is what I figured, but 9 by 21 would be perfect for me. It would give me that 3 feet would be wonderful, and it fits into the spot.
When you,
9 by 21 would fit into that spot.
and still be within the offset?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
But it would then be physically connected to the house?
It would be next to it. I would get utilities from the house. I would get water. I would get gas and
You would-
electricity.
So you'd get water, gas, and electricity from the house?
Yes.
So you're adding a room to the house that's not attached to the house?
Well, it's a kiosk. I'm not adding to the house physically. I'm just connecting by utilities. I mean, if it was just an issue of semantics, I could bring utilities into it. But I think that,
But there may be an issue of separation between the
Yes.
buildings, distance separation between buildings.
okay, well, what do you need?
For example, an accessory building on residential, we don't deal much with commercial. has to do with the height of the building, and how close it can be to a building. Is there any that you know, Brian, or for this accessory building out on the this kiosk? Is there a restriction as to how close the buildings can be?
It has to be set back as any principal structure would be from the front lot line.
But in relation to.
But what about distance between the buildings I'm talking about?
Right.
Well, the distance between the buildings, under the Uniform Building Code, there's got to be at least a 1 hour fire separation between two, under the local zoning law. I can't recall off the top of my head if there's a distance between.
I'm just saying that in residential, if I build an accessory building,
But I can give you a 2-hour code easily, so it wouldn't be a problem.
And is this kiosk supposed to be a permanent structure?
No,
It's
Oh.
gonna be on wheels? It's gonna be
It's gonna be
on
dropped.
piers?
no, it's gonna be on a steel frame that gets put in.
So it's Conex container that gets dropped on the ground?
Well, yeah, you can call it a container, but it would be a building with the steel frame around it on the bottom that the joist would be laid into. So it would essentially be 7.5 inches off the ground, the actual first floor.
Drive-through?
Whatever the code suggests, I don't know that drive-through would be legal. Correct, Brian?
The drive-through, if I remember when I was discussing this with you before, I think there might have been a problem with a drive-through restaurant.
So what we would do is have a walkout.
I would think if we were going to discuss drive-through, we'd be talking about traffic in a much more serious.
Traffic count and then go to the,
Much
is
more
208 a
serious.
state road or a county
Yeah.
road?
State.
State. So you would then have to
Get them
ask
involved.
if you could get them involved if it was a drive-through.
Brian said it can't be a drive-through from our earlier conversation, so people would
It's a
actually
walkout.
have to park or walk to it. There'd be a lot of walking to it, it's not, it wouldn't be all cars.
So, I guess for me, one of the questions is how do we even categorize this?
Yeah, the
Kiosk.
I'm
How
a
are we
little,
classifying this?
we're really leery of this
You
whole
use the term
kiosk
restaurant,
idea. I mean, you have,
But,
you're gonna have an office building and apartments and, 3 different uses.
And I'm allowed to have 4 on that property.
Okay, and the 4th one would be the hair salon.
It's interesting though, it's
I'm
an
allowed.
accessory use
2,500 square feet per use,
to
I'm over
a building on
1,000.
adjoining lot. It's not even accessory use to a building on its own lot,
I know.
on the same lot.
Why is it an accessory?
All the preparation will be done in the kitchen next door, this is just for service.
I don't think it meets accessory use, but according to assessors.
Does the kitchen next door have its own?
Not for
service
value,
area?
it's not, no, but I mean,
So what do you mean by service area?
Is it a restaurant?
Oh, yeah. It's a full restaurant.
So, this is another restaurant. I
It's a
think
what?
it's an accessory. I don't
It would be
think
up-
this is an accessory to anything, it's a standalone business.
Well, it would be run under the same corporation.
no, that doesn't say something different.
So is McDonald's.
Yeah.
I know,
Oh, I misunderstood. I thought
accessory is a
basically-
subordinate use to some other principal use. And this is a food sales center of some sort, it's a
Right.
restaurant, eating, whatever you want to call it. They could get things made elsewhere and bring them in. It's just the fact that they get it from another business owned by the same person doesn't make it any much more an accessory.
Okay.
It's got to stand on its own as a use, as a restaurant, or takeout, or whatever we call it. There's 4 or 5 different things.
All right, well, we'll have to figure that one out. Anything else, Liz?
No, I think all the rest of the stuff would then show up on the actual site plan, about the trees and with which shade tree, I guess, is gonna decide what species of trees they want.
Yep, we'll keep them, and they'll be involved in that. John, do you have any?
Not
questions that haven't
really.
been answered yet?
I think that we've covered it all, and then we're gonna have to wait for the site plan. So we're gonna look at the formal site plan, consult on the tree replacement. Looks like we're gonna have a drainage study, sign change for the beauty salon, easement rights, curb cuts, the drain, the kiosk. Yeah, we have to wait for the site plan.
Okay. So you had asked Wayne about the two possible uses, whether it's strictly residential or mixed use.
Right.
This is in the B2, so if I remember right, I think preferentially mixed use is, right, non-residential on the first floor is preferred, but it is an existing use, so I don't, and it's, although is it currently occupied again? Or it's not, it's, okay.
In fact, because it wasn't occupied, I've lost my insurance on it.
Right, and it wasn't occupied for a while. So I think for the only thing where that's relevant for us, so your question, we're not gonna, I don't think that our decisions will greatly influence that. So if you have tenants that you'd like to bring in who are, professionals or retail or whatever you were suggesting, I don't think there will necessarily be objections here, provided that you can meet the parking requirements for those particular sets of uses and that sort of thing. Any other aspects of that, I think, are largely up to you in terms of how you use that. So, do you feel like you got the information you need from us in terms of what you need to be on the site plan? Okay.
You also need a special permit.
I'm sorry?
Need a special permit for a mixed use building. I take it this is a mixed use building.
So that would just be,
I mean, I haven't read.
that would be continuous. I mean, we do that simultaneously with the site plan.
Right.
Okay.
The fact that he's moving towards a more conforming use, does that have any effect on the process?
Well, if it's a non-conforming use, yes. But I don't think it is a non-conforming use, is it? This use is allowed in the district?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, single
so,
family is
no.
allowed. So,
Okay, yeah.
so that doesn't,
Review this-
all that,
this
I mean, that's not, as far as I understand, all that means is that when you submit a formal application, you'll just indicate that you're also applying for a special use permit as well as a site plan. That's all for that. So if you, okay, so you've got a summary of the stuff that we've asked you to include on the site plan, and any other questions you have, you can work with Brian on.
And when is your next meeting?
We meet twice a month, first and third Tuesdays.
Right, so our next meeting will be the first Tuesday in October, which is probably, what, like the 6th of October.
And you need the paperwork in 2 weeks beforehand?
Ideally, yes, yeah, tomorrow.
This is a special meeting tonight, so
Yeah.
that's why.
Right. Is there any way you can make an exception for that, maybe a few days beforehand?
Well, the first step that you want to do is you'll need to get engineered drawings done.
I know that, that's what I'm
Right.
saying, Dave.
So do it, submit it to the building inspector, let the building inspector and the planner ascertain whether or not everything that's on there that needs to be on there is there. And at that point, based on when it comes in, let's make a determination about whether you can get on that meeting or 2 weeks later.
Can I-
Understand the
can-
circumstances, so.
Can I ask you, as a group, how you feel about me leveling that back area, to the wall?
I can't personally address that until I go out and actually look at the site with that in mind, because I wasn't aware that that was what you were doing.
Okay.
That's too hard of a question for me to answer.
Yeah, I mean, with that drop off, the drop off kind of mirrors Ennis Avenue.
It would
curvature.
drop off just the way it does behind Bacchus. The wall would go down probably 10 feet.
Mhm.
So you're talking about removing 8 to 10 feet of, well, no, not even.
Well, dirt and shale.
And that would make it level with the house or level?
It would make it
with
level with the
parking lot?
driveway by the house coming across the front.
So you're creating a 4-foot wide canyon in the back of the house?
Well, that-
Because it's gonna be
as
that
well,
tall.
Yeah, but well, again, we would put something up in the back.
Yeah,
fence
yeah,
or something.
and you would just take your canyon wall, for lack of a better way of describing it,
That way.
and continue it over.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly, yeah.
I'm sorry, and you say you were willing to put a fence across the top of it?
Oh, yeah, so that people don't walk over
You
it.
want to show that on the site plan too?
Okay,
But the engineer should know all that.
okay. All right.
Yeah, so, if you don't mind us going out and taking a look at the site,
Oh,
that would
please.
make it easier to
Please.
answer those questions, but you should proceed.
Okay.
Okay.
And if you'd like me to be present, just let me know.
What's the situation in Central Hudson and removing the tree that's there?
Central Hudson has just finished putting more equipment onto the new pole. They removed the equipment from the old pole and removed the old pole. That's starting to fall into the street. They'll remove the anchor to that tree. And then that tree will be ready to be used.
We're moving it Wednesday morning. We'll have that stump out and then we'll have the anchor on Wednesday afternoon.
We're being told that they have to remove that stump and then put the anchor in.
Yeah, it has to be compacted, it's a good job.
And I had an email from Central Hudson saying so. But to answer your question earlier, it's for accessory buildings. 12-foot distance between the structure and the primary structure. And accessory structure has to be attached.
So you,
Those are
12-foot separation?
For an accessory building,
Uh-huh.
but we're,
So the question is whether there's an accessory structure here.
right.
I don't think it is.
I don't think it's either. So it's a lot easier to analyze it if you just forget the accessory concept and just say, here's a building, and here's a food service center, and here's another retail business, and here's the service business, and they're all just different businesses and different buildings, different uses, put it that way.
Right.
And you said that it was going to be exclusively coffee? I see that you
No,
also
no,
have
no.
hot dogs and a griddle and a
Hot dog-
refrigerator and all that good
Yeah,
stuff.
no, hot dogs. It might even be, a grilled cheese sandwiches, just something fast, a lunch thing. It could also be, smoked meat products.
Are you looking to have seating around the kiosk?
No, just
So-
food.
So no dining, just takeaway?
Food to go.
Okay.
So I see that it's butting up against the porch. I just have visions of people parking themselves on the porch and then whoever your annoying people that want to use the office on the first floor.
He gets to deal with that.
No, whoever takes that will, have to have that as consideration. One of the things I'm also thinking about, and I've been approached to make it an antique center. And if I made it an antique center, it would start on the first floor and probably move up to the second floor, and it would be perfect for that because it could be little antique vendors taking different rooms and being able to lock their doors and open them for, the same type of thing as in the market downtown. There's a big need for it, there's a waiting list at the market. And that would complement my business as well, having people walk back and forth and my customers.
Okay.
So there's a lot of thoughts in where it lands, God knows. I don't, not yet.
All right, well, those decisions are more yours than ours as long as they are allowed in the zone, in the B2 zone. So, okay, so unless there's anything else, we'll see you soon.
Yep, well,
Good.
thank you for your time.
Yeah, thanks very much.
And again, if you want me to overdo it with you when you go down there, I can give you my
Thanks.
cell number.
Okay,
Would you
Sure,
like it? It's
yeah.
399.
You're on the air, you may want to.
if you don't mind.
9697.
Well, that's, I just wanted to know.
Thanks, okay.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right, Wayne.
All right.
Talk to you later.
Good day, guys.
Anyway. I'll give you my private phone number.
All right, Floyd, are you the sole representative for this,
Yes.
for Amy Hunt's project? All right, come on up.
She got kicked out of the last meeting because of her crying baby.
Oh, sorry about that.
So we gotta watch that.
Okay, so,
And that goes to
you guys are ready? We'll
here. Yes.
start on 7 North Manheim. Tell us what's going on.
Sure. So the village board, well, I'm sure you guys are aware, passed the new zoning code that required all uses to go for a site plan review. So the applicant here is Amy Hannes on 7 North Manheim, and she is looking to put a second floor on her one-story house. So this is for site plan review of that. And concurrent to that, there was a hot tub that she had put in previous to this that is non-conforming because of its relationship to the setback, side setback. So that application has been applied for with the ZBA to get a variance for that as well.
Is the area variance strictly for the hot tub or for the second story on the house?
The building department had determined previously that the second story would not be requiring a side yard setback.
I would agree with that.
So it's for the hot tub only then?
It's just for the hot tub, which was previously built
All
by
right,
her.
so that's, so the request for the addition, the second story and the addition is independent as far as.
Well, it's included in
Seems-
the site plan.
Right.
That, so you can't take final action on the site plan until the ZBA gives the variance for that.
Or not, and in which case then.
Or
Well,
if,
my
or if
question
you
is-
wanted to make a condition,
How is this site plan different from what is actually there? With the exception of the second story.
the footprint is the same, it's just the elevations would be different, obviously.
So we would do a site plan based on an elevation change?
We have to.
It's,
Well,
we have-
yeah,
we
it-
have
it
the way the
would
law reads,
impact-
any change to
It
the,
would impact the neighbors. Look at the restaurant right off of Manheim and Main. That
Mhm.
one house got overwhelmed by the second story of the restaurant. So yeah, we would have to worry about an elevation change and how it would affect the neighbors.
So the footprint of the house is not changing?
correct.
Okay.
Just to answer that concern is, both the neighbors are two-story houses.
Right.
So
Thank
this
you.
is almost,
Okay.
gonna be mimicking. the
And may I then suggest that you note that on future site plans so that,
I believe that the process is the same. The planning board also makes recommendations to the ZBA on their variances. I don't know if that,
Yeah, we
we done it
have,
tonight or not, or do you need a request first?
we need a request first for that.
Referral from the zoning board.
Right. She's filed for the variance request, we saw that, so we have that in our packet.
and the garage is existing?
Garage is existing. House was built in the 50s, a typical village house, the garage in the back corner,
Right.
and the house in the middle. The only thing that was done without the proper permits was the deck for the hot tub.
Right.
And there is a 6-foot solid fence blocking it from view, so you can't even see it from the neighbors anyway. And that was put in prior to that with permits.
So what we need to do tonight is to determine whether the application is complete. And we can take a couple of other steps. It is type 2, so we can we do seeker on it now since
But
it's type 2?
there's
or-
nothing to do.
I know. I mean, we just declared that that's what it is. Right? We don't have to wait for the public hearing. And then if it is, if you feel it's complete, then we can go ahead and set a public hearing for this. And that's all the action I think we need to do. So, if people have any questions, John, you want to start? No. Okay. Liz?
Coming from Main Street and heading north on North Manheim, is it on the left or the right?
Left-hand side, it's directly opposite of Shapers. It's about 3 houses in.
Okay,
Is it your old house?
the hair guys.
Oh, okay.
I lived there. It was my first house I bought back in 2001. So
Oh, Shapers?
No,
No,
this
this one,
house.
this house.
This house, yeah.
Okay. How far down from the Indian restaurant is it?
It's if you don't count the Indian restaurant, it's the 3rd house.
Yeah.
1, 2,
Okay.
okay, yeah.
Anything else, please?
No other questions at this time.
Rich, you got any?
Well, the only elevation sketch I have is this one.
There should have been all 4 submitted. That may have been from the first submission.
Yes, one.
And then there was a second.
Other information you should have been provided.
No, this is all we have is this, and we have a small version of this site
Yeah, that
plan.
was the first submission.
And then we have a blow-up version of that on 2 pages. But that's all that was in our packets, and all that was sent to us online.
I think online I'm assured I sent you a bunch of elevation drawings for the
Maybe the other
direction out there.
Should be online.
Okay, so this is what would face the main, the front? This is
Correct.
the front?
Yes. No, I'm
No.
sorry. That's the side.
That's the
Okay.
south side, not the front of the
The
house.
south side, this side,
Yes.
okay.
Side facing Indian restaurant.
East side is the front of the house.
Okay, so that's looking from
Yeah, no,
the
we didn't
Indian restaurant
get these.
towards
Yes.
the house.
So here's where that hot tub is?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, was that?
The hot tub is like right here.
Yeah.
I was just trying to make sure I had it oriented.
There we 10 copies of this.
Yeah, this is what I don't think planning board members got.
No, I didn't get anything.
No, we need to make sure we get copies of these. I know you said you sent 10 copies or something, or 7 copies.
Yeah, there were 2 separate submissions. There was an old submission back from like August, and then
Okay,
there was a resubmission. But there definitely was PDFs also of the elevations.
all
So
right.
the existing basement and the existing first floor really aren't changing other than what might be needed to put the second floor on?
Correct. There's some structural changes that are necessary in the basement but that's all interior.
Hold
general.
everything up.
That's true.
room layout.
Yeah, floor plan, second floor, floor plan.
Same number of bedrooms?
It's a 3-bedroom house. She's using it as a 2-bedroom house. She just lives there by herself and now with the baby. So she's adding a bedroom upstairs, so she's going back to the 3 bedrooms. The property's sized for 3 bedrooms and it's assessed for 3 bedrooms. Currently, she's using it as 2 bedrooms.
So not increasing the number of bedrooms, that's what I'm asking.
Correct, from what's allowed and what it's technically listed as.
What happens to the 3rd bedroom on the first floor?
What was the 3rd bedroom she uses as an office, and I think she's even opening it up even more now to the dining room.
Okay. But that would help. Using that a separate room.
Right.
Is it-
Well, this is the second floor. The first floor is here. So bedroom, bedroom in the rear, and then,
This is what there's a very small bedroom here, and she uses it as an office, and I think we're putting in a opening here to the dining room.
so this will cease to be a bedroom?
That'll be a bedroom in the back, yes.
Oh,
And then there's a
okay.
bedroom in the front, and then there'll be a bedroom upstairs.
So this is no longer going to be?
No, that'll be the bedroom in the back.
Oh, and there's a wall. somewhere.
Yeah, there's a wall there. Copies.
So are you removing the deck where the hot tub is, or enclosing it, or leaving it there and getting the variance?
No,
We're
we
trying
want
to
a
leave it.
Okay.
If the variance isn't granted, then our only recourse will be to remove it. And I thought that would be the A or B choice so that you guys could do this concurrently, so you know that
Right.
something's gonna happen, you don't have to wait for them to make a decision. But maybe there could be a condition that either it be approved or that it be removed.
So she's filed the application with, oh, so that's dated back a month ago, August 20th?
Yes, we did attend their last meeting, but they didn't have any paperwork for it, so
Okay.
we're gonna be on their October agenda also.
Okay. And Ryan, when is the ZBA meeting in October?
The next ZBA meeting is going to be the 13th.
13th, okay. So between our two meetings.
Have we established an escrow on this for the planning board?
I presume so.
Yeah.
She did submit a check for escrow. I don't know if it's 500 or, I think it was $500.
Always behind.
Yeah, that would,
I would think we have to do that.
yeah, it seems like you did. Okay, then,
And we'll be able to complete application and we can move on to a public hearing.
second,
So move. Second rather than second.
all in favor? Aye. Okay,
Set the public hearing for, I'd like to have it after the ZBA meeting.
is that?
Yeah.
It would be
You
easier,
know, it would just,
it would be a lot easier if we could have.
I would think we'd have to.
Right, maybe your meeting before, hopefully you'll, how do the referrals work now? Because we used to go out to both boards at the beginning of the process, but do they have to meet and then,
That's the way we've been doing it, they refer it over.
okay, at the first meeting or whatever? So you would have the referral
So we would only
and
have,
the
right.
application.
So we would, it wouldn't, the timing wouldn't quite work, right? Because they don't meet until, they meet between our meetings. So they would refer to us at that time.
yeah, but it only means us, I hate leaving public hearings open. But we'd have to leave it open if we don't have the ZBA back on the,
Well, we wouldn't have it in a,
right? I mean,
so if they meet on the 13th, they would send us a referral after that, is that?
Yeah.
Okay, problem. And then we wouldn't be able to make a decision in October no matter what.
Does your decision have to be tied to this deck? I mean, it's sort of a separate thing. I know it's the same property, but could you provide that there be a condition that either you get a variance for the deck or you remove it as part of
It's
it?
either on the site plan or it's not on the site plan.
Yeah.
So we can't approve the site plan.
Sure.
We can review it, but
We can review
Right,
it.
we can, yeah, so I'm saying that it'd be easier if
But that can't still be a condition of it?
You can't have a condition that you can change the site plan or that if you don't change it, the site plan is no longer approved. I mean, it doesn't work.
You'd have to come back.
we can make a
Come back
condition
with
to
another
remove
site
the
plan.
deck. But you don't want to do that,
Right.
but we can't make a condition that we have to wait and see what the plan, ZBA says before this condition.
So,
Yeah, that's,
You got something else there, George?
have to let things take a course, take it.
yeah, I don't think we can,
right.
Yeah, I wasn't hoping, I mean, I was hoping for starting in November. So I wasn't like, I'm not trying to push for October. I didn't think the timing would work, so I was just thinking of the end game of the
yeah.
ZBA.
It sounds like unfortunately, it's gonna take 2 ZBA meetings to get a decision, which means it'll be, and you all meet once a month, right? So it means that it won't be until the second meeting in November for us that you
You're
would,
bumping up to your 62-day standard, you're getting close to that.
yeah.
You
That's-
should have time within the 62-day standard, within you establish a complete application and your hearing.
Well, if we have to, we can open the public hearing earlier.
We can open the public hearing, leave it open, I just
Yeah. I mean,
would
if,
rather.
don't know if you're factoring it in, and I'm not positive of this, but I believe we have to have a public hearing.
Yeah,
You do.
you do too. But you can do that at your meeting in November. And
If we have enough time to notice it.
30 days?
I don't know, I wasn't counting, I'm just.
No, but
I wasn't paying like hard, fast attention. I'm just saying, whatever it is,
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah,
I'm just
so that's fine. I mean, if you review it at your next meeting and request a referral from us, you'll get a response from us in October. Then at your November meeting, presumably you could have set the public hearing in October. For November, you'll have our comments, you'll do your public hearing, you can possibly make a decision that night, and then we can act right after that. I don't think we can do it any other way. All right?
So you're setting a public hearing for the 20th of October?
No, there's no reason to set the public hearing until November.
Let's see. As Dave was just saying, we did watch the dates.
So we could set it for the first meeting in November.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing is we made an application to the ZBA and somehow they never got it.
Okay.
So that's, I think, the timing's off here with
Yeah,
the 62 days.
So,
we could do that, November.
what's our first meeting in November?
November 3rd.
Okay.
Their meeting is November 10th, ZBA.
So we should set our public hearing for November 3rd. And we may need to keep it open until, we'll either keep it open or we just won't take any action on the application until the second meeting in November after we hear from them. So, but that way, if we need to keep it open for legal purposes, we will. Is that okay? All right, so, motion then to set the public hearing for Tuesday, November 5th. So
November 5th or 3rd? Third.
sorry, October 5th, November 3rd.
Just so I'm clear, did you just unanimously, by unanimous consent, determine it complete, or did you have?
We voted on that.
Okay,
Yes.
very good. So you've had that resolution.
Yes.
Can we send this recommendation to the ZBA without a request?
You know, I don't know why you couldn't, really.
Right,
It's,
Fine with me.
it's fine with me. I'm prepared tonight to make a recommendation on it.
That would be appreciated.
if you do that, it just makes it academic that they refer it over because they've already got your answers.
Well, yeah,
The only thing is that.
the situation was not, I don't think, caused by this applicant.
I understand. I'm not disagreeing at all. I just think normally ZBA might have a question they want to highlight in the referral. That's why it's supposed to be a referral, but
And if they do, then
then
that's,
they could ask
that's
another
fine.
question, right?
And if they don't, then maybe we'll expedite it. Okay, well, we have a motion on the
No, we don't have a motion on poll and the rest of the board members here, if you.
No, we actually have a motion about the public hearing, but,
You can amend that.
but we can hold that for a moment. Well, let me do it this way. Do we have a second for that motion? If nobody seconds, it dies.
Or, please,
Not forever.
please,
Let's
at
move it
at
back
this point,
again.
can someone please refresh my memory what the motion was?
Just to set the public hearing for November the 3rd.
Okay, yes, I think that would work.
Okay, so now,
So second.
now we have a discussion, and so you're suggesting.
And I'm suggesting that we send a letter to the ZBA now with our opinion about the deck,
Okay,
in light of the snafu with the applications.
So if you were to do that, then when the ZBA meets next time, which is going to be this month, later in the month, sorry, we're now on,
In October.
No, they're,
no, it's going to be October.
Yes.
It'll be October meeting, only meet once a month, right?
yeah, it's,
So at the October meeting, they could actually set their public hearing for November.
it's actually not gonna change
It's back
anything,
to the same schedule almost.
Right.
because we can't make a decision until they've had their public hearing and then voted. So actually, whether they refer to us or not, it won't matter. But it was a nice gesture. It was a nice gesture.
I was trying to,
How cooperative the board is.
I was trying to speed the process up, but it doesn't.
No, it doesn't actually. Okay, so
We got a motion second?
we have a motion and second to set the public hearing for PB 1513 for Tuesday, November 3rd. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. So we'll see you guys then. And,
So, and we will not conduct county referral, correct?
Correct.
there is no need for county referral for this, right? As you pointed
The
out.
ZBA then, right? The ZBA most likely will.
Well, I'm just thinking about planning board.
The same exemption would apply,
Yeah.
but that's up to the ZBA to determine. Very good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Floyd. Okay. So, we have 3 other items. 2 are on the agenda, and 1 was added, as I said. We're going to look at the escrow fund release. Why don't we quickly go through the escrow funds in the minutes, then we can have this discussion about zoning. We have 5 sets of minutes to approve, and because different people are involved, we have to do them individually. So, Liz, you were absent July 21st.
Yeah, I was just trying to find that one.
I'll
So,
move the meeting to July 21st.
all right, John? One second.
Hang on.
Okay.
Yeah, second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
One abstention.
Okay, July 21st.
July
July
27th.
27th is just the 3 of us. So, motion to approve the minutes of July 27th.
So moved.
John?
You're the only one that, 27th?
27?
Yeah. This was the joint meeting with the town.
That was
That's
a
right, the
joint
joint meeting, yes. So, yes, a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I abstain.
Okay, August 7th, we were all there. I have a few minor changes, which I'll give to you, Ryan, just in terms of characterizing my title. I also recommend you strike the last line on the first page about, it's a personal note that has, about a planning board member, it has nothing to do with the minutes. Unless you want them to stay.
Yes.
You want them to stay? So strike those. On the second page, under consideration about escrow, just add some wording after that the board would consult with Dave Clauser just to identify that we're talking to him about confirming cost estimates for work an engineer might review. And
I didn't get the second.
anyway,
Is that
so
regarding the escrow?
yes, just to complete the thought, so when somebody reads it, they'll know what it's about. And the sentences are a bit out of order under the adjournment, pretty minor, but, so, with those amendments, do I have a motion to approve the August 7th minutes?
So moved.
Second?
Thank you, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, August 18th, it's up to you guys, I wasn't there.
Quite a few things I've seen on August 18th. Presuming you're still working off the draft.
Uh-huh.
On the first one, 71 Main, the applicant is not Heidi Jewett in the historic district, but that was Mr. Goldman on Main Street
Yes.
within the,
Yeah. Yeah.
within the B2, right?
Yep.
That's on page 1.
Yeah, that must have gotten changed, because
They
my
did get
version
changed.
says Steve Goldman.
Okay, I just didn't get the
Good.
copy.
Okay.
Yeah, my version
I
still
didn't
says
go back
Heidi
and
Jewett,
check
so.
if they had been changed.
Yeah, all right, well, I may have the only good one somehow. However, it does list me as approving this, but I didn't. 'cause
I have
was-
it highlighted in yellow that you weren't here.
No, I was not there.
And it also, the resolution had a date of the 7th of July, and it had it referred to county planning, but I think that we determined it was exempt from referral to county planning. So in a sense, the motion that was approved in the minutes was different than the motion approved, I think.
Yes, we struck it out before the motion was approved. So that was marked up.
Do you all want a corrected version of this before we approve? the
Yeah.
August
Yeah.
18th?
Yeah.
Okay,
Wait on this one.
so let's wait on the August 18th.
Yep.
We'll table those.
That's what I never seen.
All right, so let's make sure the changes get to Ryan and we'll get a corrected version for next meeting. Okay, finally, September 1st, John was absent. So, do I have a motion to approve?
On page 5 of the minutes of
Yep,
September 1st,
yep.
I think the application that you were putting an email conversation on file was 51 Main Street, not 71 Main Street.
That's correct, it was 51. Yes, it was the one that was scheduled for demolition.
51 is changed in 2 places.
Yep. Thank you.
Is this, sorry, maybe this, I had a corrected version of this.
Yeah,
It said seeker is type 2.
In the minutes that you have?
Yeah.
So I guess
I think some people have the right ones. and
So
some
I guess
don't.
I didn't get that it had actually been put through another edit. I just
And that-
knew I had some comments and I didn't realize they had been through another edit.
Except it is.
Yeah,
So what you have may be a more recent version.
so let's just make sure Ryan gets that, because I don't think the other planning board
Yeah, I
members
have
have
the-
this version.
I have the old version that refers to 71 instead of 51.
No, George is talking about the previous version,
Oh, I'm
just to confuse everybody. Okay, so we'll hold on that, and then give these to,
Set that down.
so that's the only change you need to make. Okay, motion to approve the minutes of September 1st as amended.
So moved.
Liz,
Second?
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay.
Abstention.
So, all those are done. So we have 4 requests for releasing remaining escrow funds. For PB 1409, so from last year, and then from this year, PB 1506, PB 1509, and PB 1511.
Since I didn't see those, could I just get which cases those are so I have them
Sure.
in my head?
1409 is Water Street Market. 1506 was 34 Mill Rock, the
Garage.
garage.
Looking at the garage.
That was Manheim.
Was Raccanello?
No, this was the lot, this was
Lester and Spool.
The lot line.
Yeah, lot line revision,
Lot
there we go.
line adjustment.
PB 1509 was 16 North Manheim, that was the garage. And 1511 74 Church Street was the addition,
Mudwood.
mudroom addition to the house on Church, corner Church Street.
Put a motion for them all.
Yes, so I'd like to make a motion that we approve the release of the remaining escrow balance for each of these 4 accounts.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great.
How are we doing with Jewett? So Jewett is still in process? Yes.
In terms of,
Jewett is not ready for signature on the plat yet. That's still being.
No, I signed.
Oh, it has been signed.
No, I signed.
Okay, I thought
No, that application is done.
it's now signed and done.
Yes.
Okay, I didn't know.
I was called in last week. Yes.
And all the escrow is paid. I assume.
I assume that's what I was called in, yeah. So, Okay, so one more item on this is a discussion about zoning changes to 1223. So if Dave and Brian, if you want to come up, that would be great.
Did I get this via email? Is that how we got this one?
Yes.
When was
So
that?
we don't have a hard copy of it?
No.
Okay,
I don't think the hard copy was printed out.
that's okay. I read it on my email.
It was sent out on Friday of last week. And
Oh, there's a 15th. Whatever.
I think we
What was
sent
the
it
date of Friday? September?
So like the 18th?
Yeah, 18th.
Whatever. I sent it Friday morning.
Yeah.
Time.
I'm sorry again.
Should I
We're
go
talking about
go through it?
Yeah, so,
6 South Chestnut?
no, to the changes to the
Do you guys,
zoning.
so you don't have access to it?
You want me to go down and make some copies?
It's 5 pages.
And I had read through it prior to this afternoon.
I mean, you're welcome
I
to.
think it's actually 6 pages, they're my notes, with
Okay.
2/12/23, A and B, it was 2 separate documents. I can run downstairs and make copies if you'd like, but that makes it easy.
This came out on Friday, though?
Yeah, George did it on Friday.
Friday morning.
I mean, the alternative is we can just put this off until our next.
No, I don't think that, I was out of town on Saturday and Sunday, so I haven't even looked at it.
Oh, okay.
So I'm gonna look at this thing in 2 minutes.
So, all right, well, why don't we do this then? Let's table this and make sure that we,
And can you get hard copies to it?
Of course.
yeah, Ryan can do
I
that.
can make sure they're in the next meeting, or do you want me to get them in the packets
No.
way before that?
Put them, why don't you put them in people's folders as soon as you can?
I'll do it Wednesday morning when I come in.
Okay.
Since we've got George here, do we want to talk about any of the concepts?
I think we
Got the
should.
building inspector here, or?
I'm sorry, Brian. I mean, do you
I
want,
can talk extemporaneously, we know that, I stuck my foot in my mouth plenty of
Jeez.
time.
okay,
It's
so
just I
why,
haven't read the document.
so why don't we
yet
do
to
this?
talk
Let's
about.
have a brief, like 10-minute, you guys can give us the background again about this, the changes that were proposed and what you did, and then we'll have a discussion about the specific details of it next time. Does that seem fair? All right, so let's do that, since we have Brian here tonight, so maybe Mrs. Green.
So I had proposed some edits to the proposed law a little while ago. The goal, basically trying to head off any objections or rationalizations from property owners, from trying to get out from under the requirement to get a site plan approval. And so I tried to broaden the type of work that would trigger site plan approval, and also to specify a buffer so that way you guys wouldn't be burdened with every single piece of minutia that somebody would want to do to their property to improve it. And so I made some suggestions about what kind of work, what kind of thresholds should be set to trigger a requirement to come before the planning board, and what kind of work has to be considered when they do it to their property that would even cause a consideration to go to the planning board to begin with. That was the purpose of what I tried to do there with my edits.
So what I did in follow-up, Brian had tried to put it all into the preamble paragraph, which is a tough job because it gets very long and detailed, which is the right place in a way. But I broke it into I broke that whole paragraph out into a new A and tried to spell out each of the things that Brian had suggested in a way of saying when site plan approval is triggered as a requirement. And he just said some of them have thresholds so that there's some things that are below the threshold that won't be considered for site plan and others that will be. And I think in that section, one of the important things for the board to look at next time is whether they agree with each of those. I think we went to 10 or 11 requirements, like modifying a parking space, parking spaces. Whether this list, which is really useful to be able to see now, when we want to have site plan required, whether you agree with all those areas that are covered, and also with the thresholds, like changing the grade of land by more than 6 inches. So that's something we haven't done before, but it's clear. And the question is whether...
So there's nothing to argue about?
I think, I'm sure somebody could argue. But it's the standard, so it's clear in that sense. And then the rest of it, this started with our attempt to since we were going to exempt, since site plan is now applied to single-family homes and two-family homes, we tried to exempt expansions under 50% of the gross floor area before. And now there's been some tinkering with what's required in a site plan application for a single-family, two-family, as opposed to what's required for a pizza parlor or something else, commercial use. So some of that you've gone over before, but there's some changes in that too that need to be looked at. I think it's really useful, what Brian did is really useful because it opens this section up now into a much clearer section where you can actually look and see what you think is the right scope or not. And then also go back over the requirements for site plan elements in the application and say, do we need all this or don't we? And I think in some of these areas we could actually do with less. I mean, it might be something there that's missing. I think, Brian, you tried to put in anything that you thought was missing.
I tried to, but I'm nervous about that, frankly, because I'm going to try to do my job as well as I possibly can and be as literal as I can when I read the law, which are my instructions. And if an applicant wants to do some work to their property, improve it or change the use in any way, if they don't meet the requirements, the strict requirements in the site plan law, then I'll send them back saying, I'm sorry, but I cannot accept your application. It doesn't meet the specifications that the village requires for a complete site plan application. And you're missing this little detail here, and it could be debatable whether or not that detail is even necessary for deciding whether or not their proposal can be approved, and whether or not it even needs to be on a final site plan. So if there's any doubt about whether or not a detail applies to everybody, absolutely, maybe it should be moved to some kind of a policy instead, just to help expedite applicants and to help avoid putting people through hassles that they might not need to go through in order to still accomplish the type of oversight we're trying to achieve. It's a long-winded, but...
Yeah.
No, but the way to deal with that might be that we do have the general category of, I thought we still had that.
We had that blurb in there about waiving.
We have a basket provision that if the planning board wants anything additional to be on it,
Right,
they can
yeah.
require that after the application is accepted. Which then means they might have to go back and add to it, but at least it doesn't mean you have to stop it. You can get to the planning board, and if they want more, they can ask for it.
Now, there is a provision in there that says that the planning board can waive some of the requirements.
Right.
But the only way they'll be able to get that from you is to put in a pre-application review, basically request a pre-application review where they can then come to you. And that might be the way to go. Okay, you don't want to give me all of the information that the law requires you to give me before I can forward your application to the planning board for a site plan or special use permit, then why don't you go to them ahead of time? They meet once, twice a month, so you can ask for waivers from specific provisions in that, and then I'll honor that resolution from you guys when they turn their
But they would
application.
still have to go to you first for you to then say, go ahead and ask them for these waivers.
Right, in a pre-application review session with you guys.
So they could come to us with a list of what they want waived.
Right, and then,
That's a good point, because we just had an application for site plan we just looked at.
Mhm.
It has no topos.
Right.
We didn't talk about any topos.
Well, I think Liz said she wanted to see some topos.
No,
Yeah.
but not on the second story thing.
No, the second
Oh,
application we looked
yeah.
at
I
tonight.
think there was one that, because it's not changing anything.
Right, because they're not changing
Right.
any ground, right.
Right,
But
But yet,
the previous
like what
one,
Brian's saying-
I want topo because we need to see
So-
existing and then propose.
So they should have waived it officially, or
we should have waived it on the last guy because,
we tell them maybe if we would waive it when he comes back, but then you, how do you
Yeah.
know? Unless the board makes some decision at the pre-app meeting that that it's going to waive, then you know.
Well, once I send the application to you guys, and if I did my job properly, at least have enough information, you guys will look at the application to declare it complete, hopefully. And then at that point, as you guys are negotiating the final configuration of the site plan, you guys can, grant waivers for new revisions from having to include certain information. And I'm out of the loop until the very end when you guys finally approve the site plan that I enforce for you. And, if you leave out details, well, I can't enforce details that are not on the site plan.
Right. I mean, maybe an alternative to a pre-application process would be a waiver form that I don't know if we have, I've never seen it used. So part of an application could be, they could say, well, I'd like the planning board to consider these as waivers, and so you would then be able to say, okay, the site plan is complete, save these items, and
And they've asked for
a waiver, and so during our determination of completeness, we evaluate that. If we agree with
Then
all
it
of
just
them, it's
turns into a
complete.
yes or no thing, yeah.
And if we don't, then we send them back and say, you need to provide a new site plan with these additional items, we did not waive those.
Yeah,
So-
that sounds
And then they don't have to.
like it would expedite things,
Yeah, okay.
That
So,
works.
or at least,
We could put a mention of that in here somewhere, in
Right.
the draft.
and then we'll have to come up with the form of that, and so forth, just simple waiver form, that we list things they could check off their requested waivers for. So,
One thing you just discussed though was topography as a baseline piece of data. I don't know that that's in the proposed law, a requirement for topography. But
Well, we need-
was that just an example, or would you want to have topography?
it's part of the site plan.
that's part of the checklist.
that's part of the checklist on the site plan,
checklist for
is
site
You
is
would
topo,
want topography, okay, good.
So you
definitely.
have to have it.
So
I
I think
mean-
that might warrant an edit to come back to you is to have a
Right.
standard for topography. There's not a standard for topography in the law that went around on
Okay.
Okay, yes.
Friday.
But yet,
Most
one of these
definitely
little
want
applications like the last one we saw, the topography has nothing to do with the
Right, so
application.
then
But
you.
then, and then I think
So
the
then-
discussion of the context there was a waiver
Would it would be,
process.
that would then end up being a waiver, right?
Right.
Whereas the previous one, we
Would want.
Yeah, the first one we
most
want.
definitely would want it.
Okay. So Ryan, if you would provide hard copies for people who want them of, if you don't mind, if people want to, I'm going to suggest two versions. The version that has track changes, and then a clean version, so you can see what was changed. The third thing that was sent to us electronically was the original document that you prepared and that you sent around. Do people, you want hard copies of that as well?
Yeah.
Okay, so three documents, if you don't mind.
What was the last one?
Brian's original submission, and then I know George sent it around to everybody on Friday as well with an email.
And is that the revision on the 28th of August or going back before that? Just so I'm
Earlier than
tracking.
No, yeah.
August 23rd?
I don't remember when I sent it anymore.
Because I was involved in making some changes with Brian, so
So
I
make-
didn't know if,
Oh, I don't
I
know.
think it's the 28th of
All right, well, if
August.
you could coordinate with Ryan.
And so-
about that.
Our next meeting is the first Tuesday in October.
Right,
And so we just talked about adding topography. There's one other typo that sort of persisted and we weren't able to get out. I think that there's a reference to escrow that we're able to remove,
okay,
and then we'll get that around.
okay, thanks. And then you can
Okay,
do
so
that.
you have the Word version of this, so you can make those changes?
I think that you would have the latest Word version. I'm trying to think if on Friday you sent around PDF or Word, is Word, correct?
No, he sent
You
Word.
sent around on Friday?
He sent Word
No
versions.
Word version, so whoever gets it can change it.
Yeah.
Okay,
So if you want to make those changes, go ahead, please.
all right, so we'll have slightly revised versions. If you could, once you get those final versions,
Include me in what you're saying.
send electronic copies to everybody and then printed versions of each of those three things. Okay, thank you all.
We're done.
So we're done, except we have 2 candidates for the planning board that we're going to talk to, so thank you very much.
Thank you, George.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thanks to, and
So you're gonna go into executive session?
we're gonna go into executive session. If you could bear with me, we may not be able to go anywhere except this room.
And you know what we're planning, right?
Hold on.
If you want to stick around, if you can.
Someone's kicking it. Okay.
Nothing much, right? You got company coming in.
So, overbook, yes, if you can, thanks very much. So what I'm gonna suggest is then that we end the filming for tonight. And what we'll be doing is going into executive session before you turn that off. And then when we come out, if at most, the only decision we'll have is a referral to the village board. And so if you want to, and then we'll adjourn. So if you want to go, you can do that, and we'll just make note of the time when we go in and out of executive session. And I'll get you that tomorrow.
Will you adjourn the meeting before the executive
No,
session?
you can't do that.
Okay.
It'll be after.
Okay.
So, thank you all. We'll, as soon as Rich comes back.
Do you want me to shut the camera off?
Yes, I'm just waiting for Rich. Wait till Rich comes back. Once we go, make a motion to go into executive session, then we can shut everything off.
Oh, we have both going?
Yeah, we have both the streaming and the internet camera and the video for Channel 23, although this might be our last meeting of the broadcast. It's a little bit in flux, but we'll see. Okay, so, a motion to go into executive session to interview candidates for the planning board.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so at this time, we'll shut off the cameras and